Middlesex Community College was founded in 1968. From 1968 to the mid-90s, school sports flourished at Middlesex Community College. Middlesex offered around 17 different sports programs, both at the college pro level of JUCO D1, which is junior college, 2-year colleges, and club. So sports existed in at least a professionally organized sense for around 30 or so years, and we kind of lose that seemingly in the early 90s, and then into the late 90s, it's more clubs. It's also the school had an agreement with the YMCA, so the kids could go there and work out or swim. There was also an indoor soccer league that was popular in the late 90s, but really the 60s through the 80s was the heyday of Middlesex community sports. The mascot of Middlesex Community College was the Pegasus, and the sports were known as the Flying Horsemen, or for the girls, the Flying Fillies. Now, there are some different names throughout the history, but overall, from my research, that was like the standard name. And we actually had softball, baseball, we had basketball, we had soccer, we had touch football, golf, swimming, skiing, track and field. It's really quite fascinating. I mean, sailing, judo, fencing. It's really interesting to see that there were so many hundreds of kids that played for the Middlesex Community College program. And I mean, we also were very good at points with our various sports. I mean, our 1980s basketball teams were pretty incredible, with one of them even averaging 101 points per game, which would be second best in the whole country. And we won the New England or Connecticut or various like forms of community college cup in almost every sport that we participated in. At least once I was able to find. We won for baseball, we won for basketball multiple times, we won for soccer. We had, as you can see here, volleyball for girls, which was also an incredibly successful program and existed for around 15 years or so. All of these sports were really kind of spearheaded by Marv Hagel, who was the athletic director for around 25 years at Middlesex. He was also initially the first men's college basketball coach at the school, and then decided that he would be better used at a more executive position within the school. So he was promoted to become the first athletic director, and really worked hard to organize and keep sports going, and kind of help them to thrive at Middlesex. Something really fascinating that I uncovered from going through a lot of the old newspapers and whatnot is that we used to recruit. Like, Coach Hagel would go out and recruit players for almost every single one of the sports teams, along with whoever the coach was at that time for that team. And they would go and they would convince people to come to Middlesex because of the high-value faculty and the small, intimate class sizes, and really pushed, I guess, the line that at Middlesex you get a better education and a better start to set you up for life than most other colleges in Connecticut, and for a better price as well, which I think is really fascinating. I don't even know if you would be allowed really to recruit at this point at the community college level. Here you can see this is me actually in an old late 80s Middlesex men's basketball uniform. You can see they have the playing shorts as well as the warm-up jersey top and the warm-up sweatpants. Sadly, the jersey itself does not exist anymore, but this was given to me by the CEO, which I thought was quite fascinating. You can see here some old memorabilia. This is the old milk can, which was a rivalry trophy that Manchester and Middlesex men's soccer would play for every year for around 10 years. And I guess it ended up with us. And you could also see that document there featuring our 1986 men's basketball season, where we won the New England championship and also averaged 101 points per game, second best in the nation, which is really incredible when you think about it. But I think that the black, the gold, and the white are very striking colors for the Middlesex Flying Horsemen. And I think it's really cool, like just the designs, as you guys can see, of all the old jerseys and uniforms. It's very sad, honestly, that a lot of these couldn't be saved and couldn't be kept, and that a lot of it just ended up kind of moldering away in various basements. I mean, I do kind of understand it, though, because sports are incredibly expensive, and while they can bring in great revenue, they require great investment. And, I mean, going back through yearbooks and old student newspapers and whatnot, I can see why, after a certain point, it probably didn't make sense from a financial standpoint to keep the sports. When you look at it, going back even to articles in the 70s, kind of the midpoint, there was a lot of struggle with fans not really showing up to support the Flying Horsemen in really any of the sports, which I think is very frustrating, and I think was frustrating for them when it was like the cheerleaders were really the only people that were even there when they offered so many sports and facilities. In the 70s and 80s, there was the soccer field that you've seen that was on campus, as well as volleyball courts, tennis courts, archery, and there was space for track and whatnot. And then Middlesex also utilized Woodrow Wilson High School, as well as the middle school of Middletown public schools to play and to practice at, as well as the local YMCA for swimming and whatnot. And then they skied at Powder Ridge and also around other places in the state and out of state. A lot of Middlesex's sports traveled. I found record that baseball played multiple classics in Florida, and basketball got to travel to North Carolina multiple times to play. I think it's really fascinating that this was so big. I mean, fencing and judo, you would never think, but for example, with fencing, fencing's coach, Uriah Jones from Killingworth, Connecticut, my hometown, he was a two-time Olympian in 68 and 72. He was ranked the 5th best fencer in the whole country, and he chose to come and coach at Middlesex Community College for, as far as I can tell, around 15 years that he spent training kids. We also had accomplished judo masters come and teach. We had like really a fascinating group of coaches that really worked to develop these student athletes, and it's something where I really feel like this needs to come back to the community college level, even though there's the risk of the expenditure with the technology that we have now. And I think the passion within like our film program, our photography program, I think with enough marketing, this could be really something huge for the Middletown and the surrounding shoreline community, because Wesleyan isn't really competitive at the sports level, and it's not really something they put a lot of their budget into. I think Middlesex could really fill that need and also work more in concert with local high schools to develop talent and to recruit and to showcase that they have the options. You can see here our various teachers even getting involved in playing pool and supporting these teams. As you can see here, this is some of the old student newspapers where you can see sports were featured super heavily, and even had a lot of ads for alcohol because that was sold at games, and it was very different at that time, which I thought was really fascinating. So thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for learning more about Middlesex sports. Go Horsemen, and let's bring sports back to the community college level. Thank you so much. Have a great one.